Have you ever just felt off? Tired, anxious, just not really yourself, but you can't quite figure out why? Well, today, we're going to dive into a perspective that suggests the real reason might be hiding in your hormones. Okay, let's get into it. But first, before we go any further, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Take a second, be honest. How do you really feel? Are you full of energy? Are you focused? Or is something else going on? Just kind of hold that thought as we go, because it's going to be important. You see, for so many of us, that feeling of being off isn't just one thing. It's a whole mix of really confusing symptoms. So let's take a look at what the source material points to as the common signs of a hormonal imbalance, starting with low estrogen. Now, what's so interesting here is just how wide-ranging this stuff is. We all think of hot flashes when we hear low estrogen, right? But look at this list. Anxiety, migraines, joint pain, even things like depression and memory lapses. It's a full-body thing that can mess with your body and your mind. See anything on this list that feels a little familiar? And we're not done yet. Let's layer on androgen deficiency. You'll notice some overlap. Yep, there's fatigue and irritability again, but now we're adding things like brain fog, weight gain, not being able to sleep. When you see these two lists together, it starts to paint a really clear picture of why someone might just feel fundamentally wrong. So, if those are the symptoms, what's the fix? Well, this is where the source we're looking at introduces a really critical idea, the huge difference between just treating a problem and actually healing it. On the left, you've got treating. Think of it like this. You're basically just managing symptoms. You're putting a Band-Aid on something, but the root issue, it's still there. But over on the right, we've got healing. And that's about changing the whole situation, the whole context, so you can get rid of the condition for good. It's about getting to the why. And this really is the whole idea in a nutshell. Are we just slapping on another Band-Aid? Or are we going after the root cause? The argument here is that a lot of modern medicine, well, it's really good at providing Band-Aids, but not always so great at fixing the original problem. So to really get this root cause argument, the source gives us this amazing lock and key analogy. Picture your body's cells having these tiny, specific receptors. Those are the locks. And they've evolved over thousands of years to perfectly fit your body's natural hormones. Those are the keys. The argument is that synthetic hormones are like a badly made copy of a key. They might kind of look the part, but they just don't fit the lock the right way. And that mismatch can cause a whole lot of trouble. Okay, so let's talk about the specific keys in this whole scenario. The source material really focuses on three main hormones that are absolutely crucial for feeling good. First up is estrogen, and we have to stop thinking this is just a female hormone or a reproductive hormone. Get this, it has over 400 functions in the body. It helps with cholesterol, it gives you energy, and it's absolutely vital for protecting your brain and your heart. It's a true powerhouse. Next, testosterone. And this is a big one because it is so misunderstood, especially for women. The source makes it clear that it's protective for your bones, your brain, your breasts, and your heart. It lifts your mood and brings huge symptom relief for literally everyone, not just for men. And finally, we've got progesterone, which is like the gray balancer. It works with the other hormones. It helps you sleep, it dials down anxiety, and it keeps estrogen in check. And it's super important to know that its receptors are all over your body, which means it's essential even for women who don't have a uterus. All right, so if these hormones are so incredibly important, why is there so much fear and confusion out there, especially around hormone therapy? This next part is all about tackling those myths that have really shaped how we think. This quote just hits so hard, doesn't it? It completely reframes how we think about things like anxiety or depression. Instead of immediately thinking we have a deficiency in a particular drug, what if these symptoms are actually signals from our body that there's a hormonal root cause that needs to be addressed? A lot of the fear we have today can be traced back to one huge study called the Women's Health Initiative, or WHI. The thing is, the source notes that the way that study's results were first reported, using synthetic hormones on much older women, really overstated the risks, especially for younger women who are just starting menopause. The science has been reevaluated since then, and it shows a much, much safer profile when using the right hormones at the right time. Let's just smash some of these testosterone myths for women right now. That it makes you masculine? Myth. That it makes you aggressive? Total myth. The truth might actually surprise you. It's actually the most abundant hormone in the female body. It's considered protective for the breasts, and it can even help with hair growth on your scalp. Wild, right? So we've gone through the science, the theories, the myths,
But what does all of this look like for a real person? Let's shift gears and look at a concrete example of how this all comes together. I want you to meet Bobby. She's a 65-year-old woman, and her story, which is shared in the source material, is just an incredible illustration of everything we've been talking about.
So, for years and years, Bobby was really struggling. It kicked off with depression when she was in her late 40s, and then it just got worse, with serious moodiness and anxiety. In fact, right before she started treatment, a questionnaire showed that her mental and emotional symptoms were ranked as severe in every single category.
But then, after getting treatment based on these principles, her follow-up results were just wow. Her score in all of those same categories, that crushing anxiety, the depression, all of it, dropped from severe all the way down to 0. Not just better, gone. A complete turnaround. But maybe the most powerful part of her story didn't even come from her. It came from her husband. He just said, "You gave me my wife back." And that just says it all, doesn't it? It shows you how deeply this stuff affects not just us, but the people we love.
And all of this brings us to one final thought to leave you with. Our lab results might come back in the expected range for our age, but that doesn't mean they're optimal. So the question is, if you've been told you're normal, but you still don't feel right, what does optimal actually feel like? And isn't it time to find out?